Hi, welcome to Tessera's Nerf Room. So, just a quick disclaimer, there's going to be a lot of N-Series reviews coming out over the course of the next couple weeks, because this series is all over the place right now, and I want to get reviews out because I feel like it's important for most of the hobby to understand what this series is, because N-Series has kind of been all over the place since original conceptual release, and all of a sudden they've just been rapid-firing releases out like it's nobody's business. Like, every time I think I've got all the blasters under my belt, they announce like 2 or 3 more that I realize I have to get my hands on. So, yeah, this channel's gonna be a little bit wild for a while. And then once everything calms down with the releases, I'm going to switch back to a 1 video a week video schedule. But right now, I got a lot of stuff to do. So expect to see a lot of reviews coming out judging N-Series. And today's review is on the Agility, a blaster that I've been very excited about since I first saw it, and also very worried, because this is the next Maverick, aka the next Strongarm, aka the next Disruptor, aka the next Commander, aka the next Raptor Slash. Now it looks like this. Is it still the exact same blaster? Let's find out. So the Agility is a 2024 release out of the N-Series line, making it one of the cheapest releases that you can get your hands on right now, clocking in at $10. And yes, it is very, very flippable. Very, very flippable indeed. This blaster is a 6-dart rotating cylinder-fed blaster, very similarly to something like a Disruptor or a Strongarm. But this blaster is doing a few things differently, which I will discuss over the course of this video, but first we gotta start with the design. This is a very subjective take, but I can't love this design enough. It is as iconic as the original Strongarm, in my opinion. There's something so classy about it. Just this big orange stripe that dominates the entire side of the blaster and separates the top and bottom has such a mood to it. I don't know what it is about this stripe, but it looks so good. The whole top of the blaster is very simplistic, just a big blue with a white priming handle and the orange continuing up at the top. Same goes with the bottom, but just this orange stripe all by itself gives so much personality to this blaster, and it is on both sides. The blaster looks amazing. It does keep the same kind of circuit board patterning that you've seen, as well as saying Agility up on the top ingrained into the plastic itself. So if you did paint this blaster, it would still say Agility. I think that is a cool detail, needs to be discussed, as well as having a big 6 down here indicating that it is a 6-dart cylinder. And there is something silly with the cylinder that I will address in a little while, but that's not to worry about right now. The priming handle has these little kind of lines on it, which subjectively I don't think look very good. I feel like the rest of the shell matches itself a lot better than these 3 random lines do, but it definitely looks okay. And there's a ring pull coming out of the back, which is adjustable, and I will go over that in a little while. Overall, the design of this blaster is one that I really, really like a lot. I understand not very many people are going to have the same opinion as me, but I personally just love the way this thing looks. Well done, Hasbro, you made a design that I'm absolutely in love with. But what about the ergonomics? This blaster has a main grip, a top prime, and a ring pull. So let's talk about the main grip. It's too small. I'm just gonna be straight up front. My hand fits it perfectly, but you can see how tight this grip guard is. And if I hold it comfortably, my finger actually does touch the grip guard. I have smaller than average hands, and I am experiencing issues with this. If I'm experiencing issues, lots of people are going to experience issues. So that is something to really take into consideration, that this grip guard is probably gonna have to go if you have even decently sized hands. Which really sucks, because the blaster itself is actually pretty big. It's almost the same size as the Cyclone Shock, but the grip is really tiny and seems like it's made for smaller than average hands. With that said, the grip is pretty comfortable. Just like the other N-Series grips, it's smooth and filleted all the way around and has a nice finger troil for your middle finger. But just the grip guard does cause a little bit of anxiety in using this blaster as an experience. It seems like it's going to be too tight. If you try and hold it like a pistol, it doesn't work very well. The top prime, however, is very comfortable. It's a very nice ergonomic top prime that you can easily get your whole hand around. But what's even more comfortable than the top prime is the ring pull. This ring pull was something that I did not think was going to work well, because it's a top prime Springer with a ring pull. How does that work? Well, it's a very nice, comfortable spot to put 2 fingers in that you can easily pull back without even thinking about it. And even if you don't like the ring pull, it is completely removable with these 2 screws on either side. You just unscrew those and the ring pull pops right off. So if you really don't like the ring pull that much, you can take it off. But it is there as an option. That is something I absolutely adore, and I think they did it really good with this blaster. Not to mention, the ring pull is on tightly, so it doesn't just drop down onto the grip when you're not using it. It maintains its current position very well. And even when you shake it a lot, I can't get the ring pull to really move. Well done with that, Hasbro. So how does this blaster work? Well, it is a 6-dart revolver. So you put in up to 6 N-series darts, like this, you just front load them in. You hold it, you pull this back and release, and then you can fire one at a time. The blaster doesn't have slam fire. I will explain why this is a good thing, and then you can do that 5 more times. Let's talk about the smoothness of operation and the issues with this operation. So first of all, loading the cylinder is kind of an issue because it suffers from the same problem that the Commander did, as well as the Disruptor in some regard, but not nearly as bad as the Commander in my eyes. Only 2 barrels are properly exposed at any given time, which means you load these 2 just fine, and then you load these 2 just fine, and then there's one here and one here that you have to manually load. Loading it is kind of a pain. Now you can negate this because the barrel is small enough for you to just front load 1 dart in, so you can do 3, and then you rotate it once, and then do 3, but it doesn't seem like it's meant to be loaded that way, and it does kind of become an issue. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual prime. The prime of this blaster is one of the best primes I have ever felt on a pistol like this. It's so good. It's so buttery smooth and has a very responsive, nice spring return. Whether you are priming it like this or priming it like this. In fact, I'd argue the ring pull is actually even smoother because you have like a better grip on the priming handle. It's amazing how good this prime is, and the trigger pull is even better. The trigger is completely static, and then it gives a heavy pop, because the plunger tube in this blaster is gargantuan. Considering this blaster's size and what this blaster is doing, just being a 6-dart revolver for you to holster as a sidearm, they really went above and beyond with the plunger tube. It is big. It is a girthy plunger tube, and you can do a lot with it. And that is really cool. Oh, also this happens. Okay, yeah, I know what you guys are thinking. That's horrible and that's a deal breaker. Let me explain what's going on here, because I had the same thought as you when I realized you could do this. I was like, bro, what the frick? Allow me to explanatory. So, take something like the Disruptor. That blaster has 2 smaller priming rods which connect to the internal setup. So, for example, you have like a double row, it looks like this, and it goes right through about there. So it maintains really good stability on the priming handle and gives you strength to pull the thing back. This one does it differently. This one has a single rod that goes through about here, and that single rod is supported by a metal internal structure. So you can see this right here is a screw that goes all the way through and functions as a metal rod supporting the inside of that bar. So it's actually just as strong, if not even stronger, than a Disruptor's priming handle. Finally! Oh my gosh. Oh great, my lenses are fogging up. I can't see. I can't see anything. Oh my goodness. Freaking pistols, man. Oh my gosh, this is gonna give me an aneurysm. I can't see. Everything is fogging up. So what mod potential does this blaster bring to the table? Well, the answer is yes. It brings a lot of mod potential to the table. First of all, this is a cylinder-fed revolver, which means that you can take the air restrictors out without worrying about smart AR screwing yourself over. Well, smart AR, I meant to do this, I don't know why I did the quotes, but it doesn't matter. Also, the blaster has a giant plunger tube. Like, seriously, you guys aren't gonna believe how big the plunger tube is in relation to the size of the blaster. For a blaster this small, the plunger tube is gargantuan, as well as the fact that it doesn't have slam fire, so you're working with a very simple mechanism, which makes it very easy to mod. Spring upgrades through the roof. The only thing that holds this blaster back is the fact that the trigger has a plastic leaf spring connected to it, which is going to be a huge turnoff from a lot of people. I'm sure there's a way that you could get around that, as well as the plastic spring being a lot thicker than most other ones, yet still being very easy to pull back. So it's not the worst plastic spring in the world. Definitely the Elite 2.0 ones were worse, but still, it is a plastic spring. Take that into consideration before you look at this blaster as a viable mod in replacement to something like a Spectre. I am just saying, there's a lot that you could probably do with this blaster, and I can't wait to experiment with it, because this is a blaster that I honestly would love to run as my sidearm. Also, just a minor detail, but the fact that the front of the barrel lines up perfectly with the inner diameter of the rear barrel means that brassing this thing is probably a lot more doable than brassing a lot of other very similar blasters. If you want a fun little sidearm that you can just play around with and have a good time with, I recommend taking a look at this blaster, but do consider your hand size because the grip guard is pretty unforgiving. You gotta have pretty small hands in order to make this thing work, as well as something that you're looking to mod to be a very high performance sidearm, because seriously, the plunger tube is so big, you could probably get this thing to shoot 200 FPS, and that's not a joke. The plunger tube in here is so big that you could do literally whatever you want with it, and it'll probably work just fine. Just remember, plastic spring in the trigger, only thing holding this blaster back. If you want to get this blaster, I'll link it in the description below. Thank you for watching. Bye!